Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Tuesday, December 26th, 2023, coming to us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center. Have another phenomenal holiday-themed episode coming up for you tonight. Mr. Ethan Sears of the New York Post will be joining us once again to talk New York Islanders. With me, as always, is Mr. Stefen Rosner. Stefen, how do you do? How's your holiday season?
Oh, fantastic.
Is that right?
First off, first Christmas in the new apartment with my girlfriend Alyssa, so that was fantastic.
Nice.
And Sean, you made it better.
Is that right?
The gift you got me, I'll show it right now, is legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
Oh, no. I didn't put him up to this, by the way. This wasn't required for the show. But there you go, pal. Yeah. There you go. Little Stefen Rosner, Hockey Night New York jersey.
Wowee.
You pay attention to detail. You knew my favorite number. My goalie number was 32.
I do have access to your social media accounts.
Oh, that's a problem.
So I saw the number. Yeah.
No, so very much. I didn't get you anything, so now I feel horrific.
That's okay.
Not going to change anything.
Just
but
your presence on the show is fine.
That is such BS, but let's continue with the show. Let's talk about the Islanders.
Let's do that, but before we do, let's talk about our great sponsors, starting with Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Satisfy your hunger at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington and 217 Carlton Avenue. Any size slip, check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com. Also proud to be sponsored by Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd and unplug a game at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. And also happy to be sponsored by Razor and Kniff, attorneys at law ready to fight for you. Go to razorandkniff.com. That's RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And yes, Stefan, now we can talk about the New York Islanders, who once again had another successful week, 2-0-1, collecting points, bagging points here during the holiday season. They find themselves second place in the Metropolitan Division, I think third in the Eastern Conference right now as we wait for the games to continue. So another successful week. Let's dive into it. They started off Tuesday against Edmonton, a 3-1 win. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, first, they didn't blow a lead this week. So improvement.
Progress.
But this game against the Oilers was one of those games where you spoke about it so early in the year. They haven't beat good teams. This was a game they won 3-1.
Yeah.
Did they go into the shell in the third period? Yeah. Did Sorokin face 15 shots in that third period?
He did.
Did he stop them all?
He did.
He did. And I think you look at this game, and it's, again, they get a lead. They hold on to it. The kill went 4 for 4. Huge against an Edmonton Oilers team like that.
Right.
And it was a weird way to start this game. Draisaitl gets the first shot on goal.
A minute and a half in.
Beats Sorokin. Islanders are down early. You think, okay, down early against a really good Oilers offense. Skinner had beaten them early in the year. It's going to be a tough one. But then they get the timely goals. Simon Holmstrom does it again. He just doesn't stop.
Yeah, he is the shorthanded king. By the way, I said that before Matt Barzal did.
But clearly
it's
Barzal
on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clearly Barzal listens to the show.
Obviously.
And then again, too, they lose Gauthier in the second period. We'll tell Ethan Sears about it, but Ethan asked him what happened. He goes, he took a stick to the eyeball.
I thought it was a helmet.
Pretty sure he said stick.
I read helmet.
We'll ask Ethan Sears. Anyway, he got hit in the eyeball, and it kept him out. And the fact they were able to play the game shorthanded, they ended up having to kill off a 5-on-3, which, by the way, Holmstrom scored when it was a 5-on-4. Scores there, 5-on-3. They kill that off, and they just find a way to get the job done. And again, we're talking about resiliency has been a really big topic for this team, and that was one of those games where you said, you know what? Was it their best game? No, but they got a lead. They held on.
We say that after every game. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But again, this is an Oilers team that had been playing a lot better under Knobloch, and the Islanders found a way to not blow a lead once in the entire game, get their lead, hold on. Again, at the end of the day, Sorokin made the big saves and big moments, and that's what this Islanders team needs.
Yeah, big win, 3-1 over a resurgent Oilers team, like you said, playing a lot better since the coaching change. Islanders were the only team on their New York, New Jersey trip to get the win, so that was kind of nice. But look, I mean, baby steps with this team, right? We keep talking about how, you know, the blown leads, and here's a game against one of the top teams in the league with some of the highest offensive, you know, powers in the league, and Draisaitl, McDavid, and on down the list, and they're able to kind of fend them off, you know, late in the game. They have a big 3-goal second period, and they hang on. Are they able to do that throughout the rest of the week? Not exactly. They had some catch up, but they didn't blow any leads, like you said. but a good start to the week. So
before we move on,
sure.
Again, talking about resiliency, and after the game, I asked Pajot, I said, you lose Gauthier early, you kill a 5-on-3 late. Like, what does that say about your group? And this is what he had to say.
A lot of commitment to winning. Kind of go back to my answer, and commitment means winning your battles, clearing the puck, or blocking shots, and you saw a lot of that tonight. And it's not only one guy. I think everyone chipped in. That was a really good team win.
And again, that's what the Islanders need. Do they have the offense to blow teams out of their water? Yes. We were just talking about this. They have the offense. The defense has been lacking. And again, going 4-for-4 in the PK, huge blocks on that 5-on-3 penalty kill from everybody. Pajot had a huge block. Again, Pajot setting up Holmes for that short-handed chance. Puck came loose. Pajot beat Bouchard back for the puck to race there, get there, and then feeds Holmstrom again. Just world-class effort by the PK unit and everyone in that lineup down a man. It was just, again, something you want to see from the Islanders, because, again, the penalty kill was lacking, and against tough teams, you need timely PKs.
Yeah, and at least the offense on the PK is making up for, I guess, how poor it's been so far, right? Like with the goals that they're giving up, because they gave up a couple of power play goals against Carolina in that game we'll talk about a little bit later, but they haven't exactly figured out the killing side of the penalties, but they certainly have ramped it up on the goal side. So
listen, if you're counteracting, and at the end of the day, it's not killing you, no pun intended there, but if you're, I think Holmstrom, he's got five shorthanded goals, and I think he's been on the ice for 6 against or whatever it was, so it's close enough. But let's move on to Washington.
Not a successful night, but a game where the Islanders take another point against another Metropolitan Division rival here. Capitals still surprising me with the new coach. They're right there in the mix, and they have, I think, still a couple of games in hand on the Islanders and a lot of the teams in the Metro. So they're right there. You kind of can't sleep on them. I thought they were going to kind of dive down the standings this year along with the Pittsburgh Penguins, but it hasn't happened yet. But they get the 3-2 overtime loss. Good sign is they came back in the third. Resiliency, once again, this is a situation where instead of them allowing a team to come back, they're the team that comes back to tie the game. They get a big goal from Anders Lee for that game-tying goal, who had himself a big week. And one thing we should probably touch on is that was the return of Oliver Wahlstrom, a rare game time for Oliver Wahlstrom. Yeah,
he played, I think, a little over 11 minutes and 30 seconds. After the game, Lane was asked about him, and Lane thought he played well. He made some key plays along the board, set up some teammates, and I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but he said after the game, he tried to do what he's supposed to do. Now, again, it's a guy coming to the lineup. He hadn't played in 8 games. Yeah. That's tough. But again, it's the NHL. You got to make the most of your moments. And again, we will talk with Ethan Sears, who did a story about what Lou had to say. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, for Wahlstrom, you got to find a way to make the most of your minutes, whether it's a big hit, a big board play, things like that. He's not going to snipe and score every game he's in. And he's got to find a way to be productive, especially like we've talked about when there's so many guys in the bottom 6 that just play a bottom 6 role better. Wahlstrom's not groomed to be a bottom 6 guy. Maybe he becomes that, and that's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, for Wahlstrom to get back in, and he's probably the best player on the third line in that one.
Well, the question is, did he make the most of his time, though?
So him coming out, I guess we'll move on to Carolina here, is you thought, okay, with Gauthier, with Ethan Sears reporting that Gauthier was expected to play, and then Lane following that up, Islanders had a decision to make. And Lane, do you let Wahlstrom ride it out, or does Gauthier go back in? Because whatever decision they made told you a lot about where Wahlstrom sits. And immediately, because Gauthier was healthy, Wahlstrom came out. And that tells you Wahlstrom's still not in the lineup as an everyday player, which we knew, but I thought, you know what? Maybe they let him run another game. Going into the break, let him do that, but they go right back to Gauthier, which tells you all you need to know, that Wahlstrom's not there yet and is not viewed as a player that could help the team on a nightly basis.
So what do you make of that decision? I mean, other than the obvious that they clearly have more trust in Gauthier right now, but what does that mean for Oliver Wahlstrom and just where he sits on this team?
I don't think he's providing enough of what they need. I think, again, he's not getting a lot of minutes, but when he has a chance to shoot the puck, he has to shoot the puck. If his shot is his weapon, that's got to be what he uses and shows off. I get it. We know that he's got to play more of a two-way game to stick in the NHL. You can't just be a sniper. But you need him to do the offensive things that he does so well and those things. It's not an and/or situation. Well, I'm not going to shoot the puck, so I'm going to do the small things. Like, no, this is the NHL. You got to be able to do both, because there's other guys that could do both. I mean, Julien Gauthier has cooled off since that fast start with the couple of goals there. Sure. But even when Gauthier is not scoring, which he's not on the team to score, he's skating fast.
Right.
He's forward checking. He's doing all those things. He's winning board battles, doing all that kind of stuff. And I just think Wahlstrom just lacks the tools to be an everyday player. Now, again, he's still coming back from the injury, but one thing Lane mentioned was, he goes, the injury was a year ago. It's not an excuse anymore, is essentially what he told us.
Right.
So at this point in time, there's no more talking about the injury. It's in the past.
Yeah, and the truth is, if he's going to find himself a spot on this team, it kind of needs to be in the top 6, and there's really no space for him there right now. I mean, maybe you look at those 6 guys, and one guy you can kind of figure out there is maybe Pierre Engvall.
Just going to bring him up, yeah.
Maybe he's a guy who, if they're looking for a change. Because look, here's the thing, right? They're collecting points out of like 80%, 85%. I have the stat. We'll talk about it later. But they're picking up points almost every night, even when they're not winning, right? So you're going to go with essentially the same guys that are going to get you there. It's tough to get into a lineup when things are going fairly well, which is pretty much the case for the Islanders right now, right? So Wahlstrom's got to wait until, if and when, not to say you hope for it, but if and when this team hits a rut, they lose a couple of games in a row, something's not working, right? Maybe somebody slows down, and that's probably the point where a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom gets back into the lineup because Lane wants to see something different. Even if nobody on the lineup is necessarily playing poorly, but every once in a while you just want another look. Yeah. And we'll get there. It's crazy because it feels like we're 50, 60 games into the season. We're only 33 in. It's wild. Like, there's so many things that can change between now and the end of the year. And that's one of those things is where the lineup is going well as it is now, but either there's going to be injuries or there's going to be changes. And if there aren't injuries to the forward core, that's probably what Wahlstrom's going to have to wait for is some sort of change in just the way the Islanders are performing, particularly on the scoreboard and in the standings.
I just think Wahlstrom has to pull a fashion where he makes Lane have no choice but to keep him in. Again, that's really tough when you're in and out of the lineup or you're not playing. But if, let's say someone does get hurt, or they say, Engvall hasn't been at his best in the last couple of games, we're going to try you on the second line. You got to produce somehow. Because at the end of the day, they're just going to move him back and put Engvall back there. So I think for Wahlstrom, it is probably a mental battle. I think just going in there and knowing that you want to play mistake-free hockey and that every mistake could impact your minutes, but at the same time, at this point, Wahlstrom should be going for the shot on goal every time he crosses over the blue line, because why not? If he doesn't score it, it is what it is. He's playing his game and he's probably coming out anyway. But if he scores, at least, again, it's not all about production. But if just doing the little things, again, there's too many guys that just do the little things that bring a little more to that bottom 6 grinding style.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for him. But let's just close out the Carolina game before we break for Ethan. So Saturday, the Islanders go into Carolina, 5-4 win. They hang on to a lead there. Carolina doesn't end up making Islander fans, make the odds to come back as I was waiting for. And it didn't, because they get within 1 goal, and I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop for the tying goal. It doesn't happen. Anders Lee gets himself the game winner. He has a goal and 2 assists in that game. Mike Riley has a goal and an assist. Sebastian Aho opened the scoring in that game. He gets his first goal of the season. Yes, the Islanders, Sebastian Aho, yes. And look, it's another big win for this team. I mean, Carolina has been struggling this year for sure. They're not where any of us really expected them to be, but they still have a tough team. This is still a team that I expect to figure it out and be towards the top of the Metropolitan standings, even if they're not there right now. So for them to bag 2 points in regulation against Carolina, that's another big win for the Islanders in Carolina.
And they took advantage, which we talk about a lot. They took advantage of bad goaltending. Now, Kochetkov came into that game playing very well. Again, I think they're burning him out a little bit. Ronto is placed in waivers. .852 save percentage.
Yeah, not great.
That's just not going to cut it. Anderson's, I think, back doing activity after he had that blood clot. That's scary stuff. So he's back. I think they have an a Quinnipiac goalie who's never played a pro game, maybe like 1 or 2 pro games ever, is their backup right now with all that. But Kochetkov was bad, and they took advantage of that. The Riley Knuckler can't go in, even though Knucklers are the hardest thing ever. He's way off his angle. Horvat's shot was bad. He got caught in the net. Anders Lee's no-look shot, 5-0, can't go in. But again, the Islanders in the past, when they've gone against weaker goaltending, especially when you realize they score an easy goal early, they just seem like they don't pepper the guy. Where in my mind is he's off his angles, everything's against the Oilers against Sorokin. After that Draisaitl goal goes in, you get over the blue line and shoot the puck.
Sure.
He looked very shaky in that first period, but then over time he got set in more shots. He got into a rhythm, and that was that. And I think for Kochetkov, the Islanders did not let him get into any kind of rhythm to stop pucks. So good on them for just going at it again. The PK wasn't great, 2 for 4, but they got the goals. And when, again, this is not a recipe for playoff success or things like that, but it was like Toronto-esque, where just outscore your opponent. And that's what they did.
And this is another week where the Islanders are putting up the goals. Again, the defensive side of things isn't pretty. You still hope that that they clean that up, and maybe later in the year they close out these games a little more like the Edmonton game, or even slightly like the Carolina game, where they're not giving those tying goals up. But the encouraging thing is that on a fairly consistent basis now, as we get deeper into the season, they're scoring goals week to week now. They're putting them up. Their goals for average keeps creeping up. Now they're about 3.16, I think it is, where I remember, again, I think I noted, a week ago, where it wasn't too long ago, where it was 2.5. Yeah. So they're bringing the goal totals up. Yes, the goals against totals are still up as well, but at the end of the day, they're still either squeezing 2 or 1 points out of most of these games. So that's positive for this team. So another good week, 2-0-1 against some good teams, and the Islanders find themselves in a great position in the Metropolitan Division. And with that, we got a break because Ethan Sears in New York Post is going to be joining us. So thanks for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. We'll be right back.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
It's time for Did you have a nice break? Well, it's time to get back on the couch for more Islanders therapy on Hockey Night in New York.
Joining us now on the line is Ethan Sears of the New York Post. Ethan, I know you missed me in Carolina, but how was the room after that one?
It was a happy room, and thanks so much, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, the Christmas music was going. Everyone was obviously happy to go into the break with a win, and excited to get home and spend some time with their families and away from the rink. It was it was a happy group of guys.
Very nice, Ethan. Welcome back. Hope you had a happy holiday season here, or are having, I suppose, with New Year's still coming up. But I mean, good things for the Isles here. Another 2-0-1 week for them. Second in the Metro. It never seems to be pretty, but are you seeing any sort of improvement from this team? Stefen and I kind of alluded to it before you came on. Are they cleaning up some of the defensive, side of things where they were blowing leads, going overtime? Now it seems that they're hanging on. They did against Edmonton. They did against Carolina. Are you seeing anything improving on that side of the game for this team?
Maybe I think to an extent, you've probably seen some marginal improvement there. Certainly the Edmonton game was probably one of the best examples we've seen of that all year, of them just kind of locking down late, holding on, in the third period and not really letting the Oilers threaten. But with this team so far, it's kind of been this very weird sort of identity of they're gonna win by trying to outscore teams, and it's probably going to be close at the end, and maybe they'll lose, but they'll get a point, and that's kind of been what this team is. And I as far as a big picture thing, I don't necessarily know if that's changed for me over the last week, but certainly it's good to see them get a couple wins, in regulation.
Well, I think that's the big question now, is that now, more time goes by, they're squeezing out more points. And when does this sustainability question kind of start to fade away a little bit, right? Because, I know if you look at some of the advanced stats that have been popping out there, the Islanders are kind of, I think, the PDO or whatever is, they're scoring a little more than expected. So I think there's some out there, they're expecting that to go down. So I guess I wonder, are they able to keep this going for the remainder of the season here, where this is something sustainable, where it may not be pretty at the end of the day, but this is something the Islanders can maintain to keep squeezing points out to stay in the playoff picture?
Yeah, I mean, the question for me, honestly, is it has less to do with, can they keep scoring like this, and probably a little more to do with, how does this look once they get healthy, defensively, and Pelech and Pulak and Mayfield are back. And we don't know when that'll be. But, to me, if they're going to win games, in the playoffs or late in the season when they're fighting, to get in the playoffs, that's going to probably it's going to have to look a little bit more like maybe it has for the Islanders in the past versus, so far this year. And they're going to have to win some low scoring games and some games where, maybe the power play isn't going as much, or maybe there's just not as much space out there on the ice. And, when those guys are back, we really haven't seen the Islanders this year with a healthy blue line. And maybe that's kind of the key to getting this turned around defensively. There's always the trade deadline, maybe they go out and add somebody, but to me, the question is to, can this team kind of do anything more than, be a fun regular season team that plays entertaining games and goes to overtime basically every night, kind of lies in, can they get this fixed up defensively once they're back and healthy?
And Ethan, you did a great piece on Oliver Wahlstrom speaking to Lou, and I just wanted to take one quote from it and get your thoughts on it. Lou said it's really up to him to do the things he's capable of doing. When you look at how Wahlstrom played against the Caps, I know he came out against Carolina. Do you see that he's doing that, or is that more Lou? It's kind of sending a message on Wahlstrom. You're a sniper in this league. We need you to start sniping.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Wahlstrom had, I guess to use that phrase, done the things he was capable of doing against the Caps, he would have been in the lineup against Carolina, right? And that's not to say he has to go and score a hat trick every night or anything like that. And, he did some nice things along the walls and what have you in Washington, but it wasn't like he went out and, made some great impact on the game. And that's probably what he has to start doing, when he gets chances. That's what you have to do to be an every night player in this league, to win a spot in this lineup where the bottom six is very competitive. And, at a certain point, the Islanders, they are going to have to make some decisions here. If Zach Parise comes back with their forward group, and, if Wahlstrom continues to be the odd man out, then, being the odd man out eventually is probably going to mean more than just being a healthy scratch, because they're simply not going to have the cap space or the roster space to keep everybody. And, obviously he's 23 years old. He's a former first round pick. He's got tons and tons of talent. I don't think the Islanders want to lose him. I don't think that Lou believes that he is some lost cause, nor should he. But at the same time, he's going to have to, kind of put up or shut up. Right. And that's, if Zach is coming back and we don't know for certain if or when that's happening, then that's going to have to, Wahlstrom is going to have to do that sooner rather than later.
So you mentioned Zach. I know Lou spoke a little bit about him. Just what's the latest? I know there's no answer yet, but what can you tell us about Parise and potentially coming back to the Islanders?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything, new or different over the past week or so than I had previously, which is, he's ramped up his skating. There's, strong interest towards a return, and no decision has, been made yet. Nothing is final. There's no sort of exact timeline of when that is going to happen. It's not, 100% clear to me that it is, done and dusted and will, be the Islanders without any question. But, as everybody knows, there's obviously, Zach said on breakup day, he expects it to be the Islanders. Lou has said there's a place for Zach here if he wants it. The only way that I could see that it isn't is if Zach is worried about, will there be an every night spot in the lineup for me? And, could he go somewhere that's a little bit more guaranteed, because obviously the Islanders do have a very crowded bottom six. But I don't know for certain that is, a prerequisite for Zach to, come and join a team. What I know is that there's strong interest towards a return. I think everyone is kind of thinking that things are trending in that direction, but we'll know when an announcement is made.
Yeah, it's a very curious situation because as much as I think everybody was hoping that Zach Parise would come back before the season started, with the way the season's gone, and Stefen now and I have spoken about this at least the last 2 weeks, is where the need is for Zach Parise. Not to say that you wouldn't welcome a guy like that back if he's willing to come, right? But the question continues to be, if nobody gets hurt, who's the odd man out here? Now, granted, it might be easy to pick a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom off the table here because he's not even getting into games anyway. I mean, forget about whether they want to hang on to him because of his upside and all that. But you look at the roster there, and I guess you have to look at somebody like Fasching or Gauthier, right? They all of a sudden become that extra forward if a guy like Parise comes in, right?
Yeah, I mean that would definitely be where you would start.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to whether, how long is it going to take if Zach decides tomorrow that he wants to come back on the Islanders? How long is it going to take for him? How much time is he going to want to spend practicing with the team before he feels comfortable getting into a game? Is there potentially a situation where you have him, decide ahead of time, okay, he's not going to play every night because he's 39 and he's, kind of coming in cold. So, we're only going to play him every other night or 3 out of every 4 nights or whatever. Because look, the upside obviously is there. He scored 20 goals last year. Everybody knows what this guy can do. And if that's the player the Islanders are getting, then they're going to want him to play every night. Why wouldn't you? But, this team has gone along kind of just fine without him. And, it's hard to come in cold into an NHL season when you're 39, no matter who you are. That's a really, really, really hard thing to do. I don't think that should be, I guess, underestimated in this whole thing.
For sure. And I think you keyed on an interesting point here because it's kind of almost new territory for this Islander team now, where not only are they in that position on the forward end, but the big question now is next to that is what happens to the D if and when all these other guys get healthy, granted nobody else gets hurt, right? Because they're still picking up points, they're still winning games, and names like Pulock, Pelech, and Mayfield aren't in the lineup, which is kind of bananas to me because usually you go into an Islander season and fans are talking about, well, who do they got to add? What's the piece they need to bring in to take this team to the next level? And granted, that's probably still a valid question, but with the way that they're playing, it's almost like, they don't kind of need these guys right now. You know what I mean? Not to say you don't take any one of those guys back. Obviously, Pulock gets healthy, he comes back. Pulock, and Mayfield to a degree as well. But they're in a place where it's kind of like, you come back when you're ready. You know what I mean? We don't really need you. What do you make of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, first of all, a lot of credit to Lou for being active in waivers and in the trade market and bringing these guys in and being able to stem the bleeding because we've all seen in the past when Pelech has gone down how much they've struggled, and this time around they really haven't missed a beat. So a lot of credit to Lou there first of all, and as to what happens when everybody's healthy, I mean certainly I would imagine that you don't want to let these guys go for nothing. There's going to be a numbers problem, right? I don't think that you can keep 9 defensemen on the roster. But you don't want to put Sam Bolduc on waivers and potentially lose him. Mike Riley is a guy who has certainly earned a spot in the lineup. Even Bortuzzo, has gone and done his job every night. And it's going to be a hard set of decisions for this team. And, we don't have exact timelines for when Pelech and Pulock and Mayfield are going to be back. So maybe they have some time, maybe not. It's not very clear. But certainly, maybe you end up moving 1 or 2 of them for, late round picks or something like that. Certainly that 7th round pick that they traded for Bortuzzo, I would think that they would be able to recoup. But yeah, I think the goal should be just make sure you're not losing them for nothing. Make sure that you're adding assets and continuing to kind of thread this needle.
And Ethan, what is the latest on Matt Martin? Again, gets hurt against the Canucks, gets put on IR, gets activated out of IR, suffers a setback, is back on IR. Now he's back out of IR. What's the latest on Martin? And do you think there's any chance with these numbers games that Martin finds a way on waivers at some point this year?
I don't think that they would waive Matt Martin. No. I don't think they would do that to him. I think that would be a sort of extraordinary thing for them to do, given the way that Lou has operated in the past, given how loyal he is. I just don't think that would happen. As for his current situation, we talked to him down in Carolina, and he kind of said he feels like he feels like he is healthy enough to play. Lou, I think it was Lou, it might have been Lane, said something like, he that they knew he wouldn't be healthy until after Christmas, so there was a little bit of, I guess, incongruity there. But in my mind, if Matt is saying he's healthy enough to play, then in my mind he's a healthy scratch. Unless there's some kind of re-aggravation of this injury, as happened in Florida. But I guess for now, if Matt is a healthy scratch, then that means he's going to have to go in and re-earn his place in the lineup. Fashing's played really well, and certainly, probably doesn't deserve to come out at this point. And that's nothing that Matt's done wrong. It's more so that Fashing has gone and won that spot, and Matt Martin is going to have to go and win it back, or else potentially kind of find himself in that, in the same place that Josh Bailey was a year ago. And obviously his contract is expiring at the end of this year. He's 34 years old, and there's probably already was going to be some question as to would he come back and play another year, and that becomes an even bigger question if he's not playing every night.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe it's time, you gave some credit to Lou earlier, but maybe it's time to give Lou and Lambert here a little credit too, because I think the Isles for a little while here, they've been getting a little flack from the fan base, just about being over-reliant on veterans and being over-loyal to the veterans on the team. And that goes to the Martins and the Clutterbucks and the Baileys of the team. And they made the tough decision with Bailey last season. And now it looks like you're seeing that with Matt Martin, where even when he's getting healthy, the team's going well without him in the lineup, and he's a guy that they're willing to put up in the press box. So maybe that is something that the Islanders kind of have their eye on, and something that they're willing to do. And is that the game plan going forward for this team here, where like they respect the veterans that they have, but they have an understanding within the locker room that they're going to put the guys that are going to give them the best chance to win on the ice.
Yeah, 100%. And that also requires buy-in from all the guys in the room, because, last year, Josh Bailey certainly could have, turned around and said, how could you not be playing me? I'm Josh Bailey. I've played 1,000 games for this franchise. I've been here for, years and years. And, how could you treat me like this? Matt Martin, probably has the kind of standing to, go and do something similar. And that is obviously did not happen with Josh. There's no hint of that happening with Matt. I don't think that would really ever happen in this room. This is a team of guys that is completely bought in and completely believes in their own capabilities. And that's, even when they have underperformed, that has always been true about this group. So, I think some credit probably goes to everybody in the room and the leadership group and Josh last year, Matt this year, for dealing with what is not an easy situation with, professionalism and, doing the right thing and showing up every day and not complaining when, you probably have the standing, so to speak, to throw a fit if you want to. And that's not a thing that really happens with this team.
And Ethan, Sean and I were having a little debate before you got on, because we know you reported the Gauthier incident. Did he take a stick to the eyeball, or did he take a helmet? Because I thought it was stick. Sean thought it was helmet. Can you just clarify what happened to Gauthier?
He told me it was a stick. He said stick to the eyeball. I think he said right eyeball. I didn't go into detail with him about the exact play. I kind of just said, but that sounds horrible. But yeah, he seemed to kind of, he played it off and said, it's all right. He sat out kind of, I guess, as a precaution. He said, you only have one set of eyes, so you want to make sure they're all good, which is sounds like good advice to me. I'm not a medical professional, but that sounds about right. Yeah, so stick to the eye, and he's obviously played in Carolina and seems like he's good to go.
In all fairness, a stick would make a lot more sense, but apparently there's something wrong with my eyes, because I could have sworn I read, and Ethan, forgive me, I don't remember if it was your article or maybe Andrew Gross's, but I thought I read that he said that somehow he took like part of a helmet to his eye, but I guess I made that up.
So I don't. It's again. Me and Ethan have this luxury of being able to talk to these players, and Gauthier has to be one of just his personality. He is hysterical. Ethan, he is so polite. He wants to like shake your hand. Thanks for talking to me so much. He is the absolute man. Gentleman.
But he didn't take a helmet to the eye.
No, he got right eyeball or left, one of the eyeballs. Yeah.
All right. You know, I'm wrong sometimes. What can I tell you? That is a little strange. A helmet to the eye. It doesn't really make sense. All right. So Ethan, the last one I'll leave you with is, look, the Islanders find themselves in the second place in the Metro right now. They're looking good, but there's still 50-some-odd games to go, give or take. A lot of season left here, and there's a lot of teams nipping at their heels, right? You look at those standings, and 6-7 points separate 2 through 8 in the conference or something like that, whatever it is. But when you look at those standings, you look at the teams that are behind the Islanders, who do you think, the biggest threats to them, right? Because Philadelphia is still there, to their credit, didn't see that coming, thought they would have tailored off, but they're still in the mix. The Capitals, as I said earlier on the show, kind of surprising me with where they are right now, but you have them. The Canes haven't figured it out yet. Who's going to be the biggest threat to the Islanders to, not only obviously challenge for that second spot, but just the playoffs in general?
I would start with Carolina, just because they have the track record, and obviously right now their goaltending is a pretty major problem. But if Freddie Anderson can get healthy, if maybe they can add something there, then they obviously have a pretty complete team and the sort of pedigree to be an issue. The Flyers, I think there's still probably a chance that they end up moving some guys. I don't think that they're going to kind of mortgage the plan that they've been on to go and try and make the playoffs this year. If they can, I'm sure they'll view it as a wonderful bonus, and that market deserves some success after the last few years. But there's still some question as to whether you see them deal a Sean Walker, for example. Washington, I could see them maybe running out of gas a little bit. The Devils, I think, could still be a problem, kind of similar to Carolina with the goaltending issues. But the Hurricanes, to me, just because they've been so consistent in the past, and I think that they still have a very good roster, and maybe just need to kind of their goaltending needs to be a little bit better than worst in the league.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
To me, that's the team that probably if you had to pick somebody, I guess, other than the Islanders to finish second, I would probably go with Carolina.
Ethan, just thanks. Unless you have any more questions.
I'm good.
You're good. Ethan, thanks so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Happy holidays, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you as well. I'll see you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks a lot. Take care. All right, folks, that was the great Ethan Sears of the New York Post joining us once again to talk Islanders. And he's right. The worst goaltending in the league isn't going to get you very far.
Yeah, that's usually. Hey, credit to Lou again. Signing
Careful,
two.
Man, we're saying that a lot tonight.
Well, I saw a lot
people
of the
in the
comments,
base don't like saying those.
I saw
words.
a lot of comments in the chat about it, and I guess just before we go into the next point is,
we already got like credit to Lou.
Wait, so I saw that when that's when Ethan brought up the back end, and I don't get how you don't give him credit for Bortuzzo and Riley. I mean,
this is like
it's crazy.
What
in my
rubs
eyes.
me the wrong way with the fan base, right? Like, look, if somebody's not performing the way you want, and that's either on the ice or in the press box, in the front office, behind the bench, whatever it is, that's fine. Let it be known. But when they do something that like it's kind of obvious that it was their decision that they probably deserve credit for. Just throw it back the other way. And I feel like you don't see that all the time, right? Like I don't see a lot of the same fans saying, Lou's got to go. The game's passed him by. And then he brings in Riley, sure, off of waivers. He brings in Bortuzzo. And look, come on, anybody before the season, if you told an Islander fan that Pellick, Pulock, and Mayfield were going to go down together for a significant amount of time, how much hope would you have, right? To collect points and bank points and win games, right? Probably not a lot.
With no defensive depth on the roster to begin with.
Right. And so Lou makes the moves that he kind of has to do because these guys go down, and the ship is still sailing. So give the guy a little credit.
Yes, credit the players for filling the roles and actually playing well, because he could have gotten both these guys and they could have been terrible.
Of course, that's sports.
But he went on and got a guy like Bortuzzo wasn't on waivers. He had to go out and get him. Now, Bortuzzo and the GM, there was talks that he obviously wanted a new scenery, things like that, but what Bortuzzo's been able to do for the Islanders and for Bolduc, like that can't go unnoticed. How much Bortuzzo's kind of calmed Bolduc down and really been that veteran presence.
Sure.
And then Riley has won himself probably a job when everyone comes back healthy. So I get the Lou hate crowd. It's been there before. It'll always be there. But you look at what Horvat's doing this year now and where those trade pieces are now. Ratu is a bottom fourth line center in.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of people complaining about the Horvat trade anymore, do you?
No,
it doesn't really happen. Yeah,
I just think for the defense, he essentially saved the season probably with the 2 pickups that he made on the back end
so far.
But he's helped the Islanders not even just stay afloat. They are sole position second in the Metro. I get it. The overtime losses, the loser point chat. That's such a conversation for another day, but. It's not loser points when they actually do matter. Like, it'd be one thing if those loser points held you at a disadvantage. I get it. Regulation wins are the tiebreaker. But right now, you asked Ethan who the biggest threat was to the Islanders. In my eyes, the biggest threat to the Islanders is the Islanders. Look at last year. You got bad January, struggle mightily, and now you have to tooth and whatever the expression is. I'm so bad with those. You have to fight to get to the playoffs, right? The destiny was never really in their hands. Now, should they have won that last week to make it? Sure. But when they didn't win, it was, we got to see what Pittsburgh does against Chicago to make it in.
Right.
Again, are the Islanders safe in second right now? No. Can any team catch them? Yes. But right now, if the Islanders continue to do what they've been doing and get healthier, the only reason they miss the playoffs is if they mess up. Because again, they're ahead of the pack right now. It'd be one thing if they were forced in the wild card spot right now and you have to fight. Like right now, at this moment in time, all the Islanders have to do is keep doing what they're doing. And again, sure, you're not going to win every game. You're not going to get points every game.
But that's also easier said than done, too.
I mean, of course.
You know, just to that point I made before about how tight the Metro is and the East is, you have a bad week, and then all of a sudden you're on the outside looking in here.
But is a bad week the other team's fault, or is that your team having a bad week?
Yeah, sure. Whatever the case may be. The point is that the Islanders have to stay ahead of the game
100%,
here, and they have to keep winning and bagging these points because, you know, they've had, what, a 2-1-1 week last week with the 4 games, 2-0-1 this week. I think the week prior was 2-0-1 again. So they're taking, 5 out of 6 points here and there, which is great. I mean, you keep doing that, you're going to be fine. But eventually, they're not. Look, I hope they do, but eventually they're gonna hit a rough week.
Yep.
And they're gonna go 1-0-2 or whatever it is, right? And then all of a sudden, those teams behind them will start to catching them. But the main thing is they have to be able to do this over the course of the remaining 50 games or so. But I think you nailed it, man. That's a great way to put it. Is that the Islanders are probably the biggest challenge because of how kind of, just uneven their game is, right? And how it can go from one thing to another. And, the power play is great, but the penalty kill is still awful, even though they've shown signs of light here. But for the most part, they're still just a very imbalanced team. And
you would know, I don't know.
Usually I do. But look, that's still something that, we have to see if they can continue to do it over the course of the season. Because again, even though it feels like they've played like 50 games, it's only been 33 games. So a lot of things can change, a lot of things can happen. But it is very encouraging that through these big injuries, heavy injuries here, that not only have them been able to stay afloat, but they've actually been able to rise towards the top of the conference. So it's encouraging. It's been stressful. But it's been good so far. But I think we should take another break. But before we do, I want to tell y'all about our friends at Main Street Board Game Cafe in Huntington Village on Long Island's North Shore. Games for sale and for open play, food and drink, beer and wine, fun and friends. Bring the magic of phones down, eyes up, tabletop board games to your family. Our staff will help you find the right game from old favorites to the hottest new releases. We have everything from strategic to easy party games. Get off your screens for a night your family will remember. Looking for meetups to join our Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons, Lorcana, and organized play communities are welcoming for all. We also do parties and corporate events. Located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Go to mainstboardgamecafe.com for more information. Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd. Unplug your game. And with that, I want to thank you all once again for tuning into twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. We'll be right back.
New York Islanders fans, Sunday night is hockey night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow at Hockey Night NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan. Hey there, welcome back. We missed you too. Now kick up your feet and settle back in to Hockey Night in New York.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and or listening to Hockey Night in New York. And before we get into what's on tap, Stefen, I think we should talk about the offensive firepower coming out of Long Island. The New York Islanders, you got 4 guys right around a point per game clip, 3 of them at a point per game clip. But I know you got some numbers we want to rattle off here about the offensive firepower of the New York.
Yeah, when's the last time you said offensive firepower and it was the Islanders?
It felt good, Stefan.
It was probably before I was born, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, Matthew Barzal, 35 points in 32 games, 10 goals, 25 assists. Noah Dobson, 34 points in 33 games, 5 goals, 29 assists. He's been averaging 25-45 minutes per game, most on the Islanders. And that's second in the NHL behind Drew Doughty of the Kings. Since Adam Pelech went down, 27-19. And that is the most. That's 15 games. That's including the game Pelech got hurt in. That leads the NHL.
So 15 straight games of 25 plus minutes.
No.
I'm saying
you're saying that.
I got that from Eric Hornick's NYI Skinny. That's the best cheat sheet in the hockey world is, at least the Islander world is. You go to the NYI Skinny and you can pull up big stats like that. But 15 straight games, 25 plus minutes. Sorry to steal your thunder there, Stephen.
No, he's eating minutes.
He is.
Eating minutes. Yes. And then Bo Horvat, 33 points in 33 games, 14 goals, 19 assists. And then Brock Nelson, who's not at the point per game pace, but 30 points, team leading 16 goals, 14 assists in 33 games played. Again, this is the first time since I can remember the Islanders have had a true top 6.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be able to say something like that because it's true. It's been a very long time. Usually it's makeshift. Usually there's always one position up there in the top 6 that you're looking to fill up and bring somebody in. I said it before, like you're talking about who can they bring in before the season? Yes, to enhance the scoring. But I mean, it's been spread around, and if you even go lower down the sheet there, Kyle Palmieri's putting numbers up. I mean, another year here where he's healthy.
Anders Lee's heating up.
Anders Lee, yes, I want to talk about him later. But yeah, you're getting some nice balanced scoring from the guys who are supposed to be scoring, and really it's just keeping the pucks out of the net. That's what's keeping them from being even more successful than they've been.
And again, hockey, for the fans that don't know, with last change, things like that, is having a true top 6 makes life so much harder for the opposing coach. Because again, last year when Barzal went down, the top line wasn't great. They weren't producing, so it was easy.
Right.
Our best defense pairing is going up against the Nelson line every night. This year, our top pairing and our middle pairing are going up against the top 2 Islander lines. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Gauthier, Pajot, Holmstrom is still a threat. Fashing on that 4th line with Zizekas is a threat. So now that exposes the Islanders' bottom 6 to being more of offensive threats. And we saw earlier in this year where the 4th line was getting some timely goals. Mm-hmm. Pajot never really heated up in terms of point production, but Holmstrom was scoring some goals. Gauthier had a couple of games where he's scoring goals. Yeah. So it's like it opened up this whole thing for the offense just because the top 6 finally had the pieces to play a top 6. And I know Engvall hasn't played probably great the last handful of games, but Nelson's still producing. And then you look at the top line, even games maybe where that 5-on-5, that top line's not producing, but the power play as a whole with guys like Nelson, Horvat, and Barzal are making things count. Dobson again. So this team's been unlocked because they finally have a top 6 that's performing like legitimate top 6. I think the Nelson line has played the most amount of minutes in the NHL, and I think they're top 5 in terms of goals for. in the league. And again, that is a number 2 line.
Right? No, it's weird to wake up in the morning and read stats like that because you haven't for a long time if you've been following the New York Islanders. So it's fun to see. And, they're getting a lot of help from the back end too. Noah Dobson obviously is the first name you name. I mean, he's just been outstanding, but I got to say the addition of Mike Riley has been unbelievable. I mean, he's played 13 games with the Islanders since he came in. He has 7 points. You basically put that on an 82-game pace, and you're talking over 42 points this season. Is he going to stay at that pace? That remains to be seen. But the fact that he was able to come in and in such a short time acclimate himself to this team and not only help keep pucks in theory out of their own net, but help put the pucks in the opposing net has been great to see. And I know you've kind of referred to him as a Nick Leddy light here, and it's true. I mean, he's a guy who's been able to actually skate out of the zone with puck possession, which has helped them out too because they were a little more reliant on chipping pucks out, passing the puck out of the zone. Now their exits have been a little more balanced with Riley being able to skate them out and then look for an option going ahead. So that's been a big help.
Which makes it more confusing is how is this guy playing in the AHL? That kind of sounds like it should be illegal. Like a guy like this level of skill clearly has a lot more skill than, no offense to anyone in the AHL, but like an AHL vet that's going to be in the AHL for a while. Mike Riley is clearly a level higher than that.
I mean, every now and then you get these teams with a lot
Boston,
of depth.
He was on waivers like 18 times.
Well, there you go. I mean, a team like Boston and more recently Florida, where, I mean, they're one of the top teams in the league and you just have depth. And, I mean, I couldn't name their 1 through 6, but I know that they have
the Florida's back end wasn't great. So, again, it's either did
Mike... But he couldn't crack it.
Yeah, but that's the puzzling part.
And I'm not going to compare this as a 1-for-1 at all. But, like, I guess a situation like this on much lighter terms is... one of the bigger waiver pickups, and I'm skipping a couple of guys now that I'm rattling my brain, but like Chris Osgood was a waiver wire guy. I mean, that was unheard of. He was a starting goalie because they just happened to make Chris Osgood available because Dominic Hasek came in. Again, this is apples to oranges in terms of Mike Riley versus Chris Osgood.
Who knows? What if Riley scores the game-winning goal in the cup?
You never know. You never. But to say that he hasn't just been a fill-in, he hasn't just been a body to put out on the ice while they patiently wait and cross their fingers for Mayfield, Pellick, and Pullock to come back. He's a guy who's not only come in, but he's made a very significant difference, and that doesn't always happen on the waiver wire. Is basically the point I'm trying to make.
It's so cliche, but he's taken a job and run with it. Taking the minutes and ran with it. Yeah. Again, we go back to Wallstrom. It's like completely different situation. Riley seems to be making the most of every minute.
Yeah.
He's out there, and that's why, again, when all these guys come back healthy, it's going to be the question we get asked probably a lot in the chat. Mm-hmm. Who comes out? Who doesn't? It's like Riley's done everything like Fasching did. Like if the Islanders want to win and continue to have success, Mike Riley's showing that he's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, unless you got anything else to add as far as the roster goes, I think it's time to get into what's on tap.
Let's do it.
And now, it's time for What's on Tap. A look ahead at the Islanders' upcoming schedule.
That's right. We are going to look ahead to the Islanders' upcoming schedule, and it consists of more metropolitan foes, the Pittsburgh Penguins twice, sandwiched in between the Washington Capitals once again, who the Islanders are very familiar with given the last week, but 3 big games here, a lot of points on the line, and again, the standings can change a lot depending on how these games go. So these are big games before the calendar even turns to 2024, but they start Wednesday, tomorrow night, versus the Pittsburgh Penguins at UBS Arena. They got a record of 15, 13, and 4 right now. Interesting storylines with them. Kyle Dubas comes in. There's the whole dynamic with him and Mike Sullivan, and they bring in Erik Karlsson. And it hasn't exactly worked out for them. They're on the outside looking in here on the playoffs.
The power play has been a little better as of late, but it's still downright terrible, which should help the Islanders' penalty kill.
You would hope. Yeah. We'll find out. But here's a team who, the hockey media kind of fell in love with after Dubas came in and after they picked up Karlsson. They thought that the Penguins are going to find themselves working their way back up the standings again. It hasn't worked. Sorry, Toronto media. but that's how it's been. And this is a team who still has a lot of weapons. Crosby's still having a great year despite, how poorly the Penguins have been this year. So always a threat. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, as noted before the show here, Sidney Crosby likes to put up a lot of points against the Islanders, so that's always a threat. But look, I mean, these are 3 big games. The Islanders can't, keep their foot off of the pedal here. These are 6 big points.
Yeah, again, you said the Penguins off to a tough start. Yeah, they're on the outside looking in, but I think Sidney Crosby's off to his best start of his career.
He's playing sick.
Yeah, 19 goals, 16 assists, 35 points in 32 games played. And I did ask you before the show, Sean, how many points do you think that he had in 82 career games versus the Islanders? Forgot what you said.
I said like 107
Yeah, you
or
were
109.
wrong.
Oh, all right.
I'm just saying. I'm recapping.
Okay.
With a little attitude.
Pulling me up a lot here tonight.
Yeah, 132 points in 82 games, 41 goals, 91 assists. I mean, I think Ovechkin's at a point per game versus the Islanders over his career, but 132 points in 82 games, that is a lot.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you look at those late 2000,
he did abuse the bad teams.
Like, yeah, he destroyed them. Like, he was running up the score.
And Jake Guentzel, who's probably going to be the number one trade target for every team outside of the Penguins, is off to a fantastic start. 35 points in 32 games, 14 goals, 21 assists. He is a pending unrestricted free agent. He is turning 30. He's going to command a lot. I would think
send him out west.
I think it would be a top prospect and then some, because again, the Penguins have all the leverage there. They're not going to let him walk for nothing. I don't know if he gets traded at the deadline. They might say, listen, if we're going to turn things around, Guentzel's going to be a huge part of that, but we are months away from the deadline.
Correct.
But again, regardless of how bad the Penguins have been, they still have guys, those two, Malkin, that know how to put the puck in the back of the net. And again, it's getting to the goaltending. And I think Jari's been better this year. .913 save percentage, 2.61 goals against average. Has shown that he does have a glove at times. So the Islanders have to, again, do what they did against the Hurricanes. They should be acting like this every goalie is Kochetkov.
Sure.
That'd
be great.
Make them earn the save. If they make the first couple of saves on the basic shots that they're supposed to stop, all right, maybe pick and choose your spots, get him moving around. But go like Jari, who's had his moments against the Islanders that have not been great. Get in his head early. Throw pucks. Make him scramble in his crease. I think, again, the Islanders don't do that enough, especially to goalies that they have a pass with that are shaky. I think you have to, when you have a chance to fire the puck hard and low at Jari, make him control his rebounds, see where he's at from the opening puck trap, and then go to work.
The Islanders have shown that they've been good out of the gate this season. They've come out to good starts, so do the same thing here against Jari. And
if it's Jari.
And right, and if you do throw up a couple goals on them, do your best to prevent the tying goals coming later. That's
and by the way, just because the power play for the Penguins has been bad, the Islanders do not want to take penalties to allow.
No, because you still have to think of the names that are on that power
still
play,
a threat
regardless. So yeah, Pittsburgh not having a great season, but you can't take them lightly because they still have a lot of weapons there. So they play them twice. They play them tomorrow, and they play them Sunday in Pittsburgh. That's a 6 p.m. start, but wedged in between. Eve. Yes, a New Year's Eve tilt. Yes. That's right, ringing in the new year in Pittsburgh. Where else would you want to be on New Year's Eve than Pittsburgh? But wedged in between, Friday, the Caps come back to town. They're 17-9-5. Again, familiar territory here as they just played them. Not a team to be taken lightly, as we've learned. And even though Ovechkin isn't scoring, team that's still getting it done.
Dylan Strome, the brother of former Islander Ryan Strome.
There you have it.
He's been fantastic for them this year. I think it's so weird. We talked about it on the show last week, but the Caps, without Ovechkin scoring the way he used to score, without Backstrom, without Kuznetsov doing anything, Mantha's scoring. We spoke to Sammy Silber about it. Mantha's scoring, Strome's scoring. Their defensive system under Carberry has been fantastic. Again, Kemper, to me, yes, he's won a Stanley Cup, and you can't knock that. But he's maybe a tad above average goaltender in the NHL. He's not a superstar in net. And again, that goal that he allowed to fashion the other day, that's a goal that just cannot go in the back of the net. So I think for the Islanders, again, it's the same thing against any goalie they faced, especially just facing Kemper. It's, that you could score a couple of those goals probably a game. Just got to find a way to get traffic in front. I don't think they got enough traffic against the Caps last time. Again, I thought Kochetkov, they did a good job at crashing the crease and doing all those things. So at the end of the day, all these goalies are so talented. If you don't take their eyes away, you're giving them such a leg up. And I think that's the biggest thing in hockey. We see so many deflections because there's so much more of an emphasis on getting bodies in front. And I think if the Islanders could do that early, they're going to get the results they want.
Yes, we shall see. But once again, 3 tough games here on tap. 2 against the Pens, 1 against the Caps. And the Metro standings could look a lot different depending on how those games go.
It's going to change every week.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. So there you go. That was what's on tap. And before we go into our next segment, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Isles Fix. Islanders Country, get your daily fix of Isles news, highlights, and analysis by subscribing to Isles Fix, the only Monday through Friday Islanders newsletter sent directly to your inbox. Sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits at islesfix.substack.com. And with that now, please take us into the hero of the week. That's right, folks. When you hear this song, that means it's time for the hero of the week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels half-price hero, which this week is the Mr. Ledecky, featuring turkey, ham, provolone, lettuce, tomato, and mustard on fresh rye bread. Stop on into the BLD Huntington location for half off the Mr. Ledecky all week. So with that, Mr. Stefen Rosner, who is your hero of the week?
My hero is goaltender Ilya Sorokin, and he biased, say?
Your goal, yeah.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Anyway, suck it up. Ilya Sorokin had a fantastic week. Look at the Oilers game. He stops 30 of 31, allows the first shot on goal against Draisaitl to go in, and then shuts the door. He stopped 15 shots in the third period. The penalty kill was 4 for 4. He made 7 saves. And then against Carolina, which again, took a lot of shots late in that game. He stops 36 of 40, 13 of 15 in the third period. He allowed 2 power play goals, so again, that's not always on him. And again, late in that game, he got peppered. Backdoor tap-ins. Even the goal that they scored to open the game, which was a backdoor feed that he made a ridiculous save on, the rebound goes in. I thought Sorokin made those ridiculously timely saves at such big moments for this team. Because again, if he allows one of those goals in the third period against Edmonton, that's a team that's a talented offensive team that might just get momentum and find a way to tie that game up. So I thought, again, 2 games against 2 tough opponents that he just shut the door and made the most of it and helped get the Islanders the win.
Yeah, I think he had a good week, and there's no doubt that over the course of this season, he has made some game-saving highlight reel saves. But there is a question I do want to ask you. His numbers are not Vezina caliber right now. No. He's not having the season that everybody was expecting, right? He was a money favorite to be not only a Vezina finalist, but the winner this year, right? And he's got a goals against average above 3. He's got a .914 save, which is good, but it's not Vezina caliber. I mean, Semyon Varlamov has a better save percentage. I think it's like .917, whatever.
He's been good.
Yeah, but that being said, obviously Ilya's given up more goals this season, right? I mean, it's actually wild to see his goals against above 3. That's like a 1980s goals against average, even 90s, right? But my question is it more Ilya Sorokin or is it more the team in front of him?
Yeah, it's so cliche. I think it's both. Obviously, the backdoor tap-ins that the Islanders allowed a lot this year. There's really nothing you can do. I mean, sure, you can make the save, but it's very hard, especially when they're wide open. But what I will say is I think, again, Sorokin kind of went back a little bit in terms of that mindset when he first came over here was, I need to make the really good saves. I got a game plan for those second and third opportunities, but he's forgetting about making the first save. Like a wide receiver that drops the ball before thinking about making the play up the field, drops it. Because you saw some goals that he's allowed where it's like, he just made a ridiculous save. How does he let that in? And I think, again, with seeing how bad the defense has been in front of him, he's got a game plan to make those second or third saves, and maybe he's leaving the post too early or he's not controlling his rebound. So I think a lot of it is mental because we know he has the talent. You don't just lose that talent. But I think last year, the defense this year has been so much, there are more holes in the defense this year than it was last year, and I think that's definitely played a part in the high numbers. But I also think Sorokin maybe has been trying to do too much to counteract that, and it's making things worse. So I think the last couple of games, it's been, you know what? Make the first save. Just make the first save, and if you can make those second and third saves, great. But at some point, I mean, we saw against Carolina at times where the Islanders allowed that playback door, but Romanov was in the right spot to break up the pass. Dobson was in the right spot. So I think Islanders' defense is slowly but surely helping him out a little more, which is only going to give him more confidence to be the guy he was last year. Again, stats are going to change throughout the year, but sure, he got off to a rough start. Maybe his stats are not going to be Vezina worthy, but the Islanders don't need him to win a Vezina. The Islanders need him to get him to the playoffs. And I think
Stanley Cup would be better.
And I think Sorokin, there's no question, he could be the goal we saw last year for the whole entire second half and really forget about this first half. But I do think it matters how well the defense plays in front of him because it's going to wear on him if every night he has to be perfect. That mindset of having to be perfect in third periods, it definitely weighs on you. But I think right now Sorokin is doing a great job of handling the mental toll that's been given in front of him with the lack of defense and just mentally in his head going, I'm good enough to be this guy that can save the team and carry this team to victory every night. And I thought the last 2 starts he's had, he's done what he had to get the wins and then some.
So if you were going to grade his season so far, what would you give him?
I'd give him a B+. I think, again, even when they were losing and he wasn't playing at his best, I think it's so weird because at his best is still probably better than league average. His at his best, it's been put so high because what he's done that I think, one, I don't think it was ever possible for him to do what he did again last year. Maybe similar stat-wise, but just every night having to do what he did. It's not something that you can keep up, which again, he needs more support. But I think B+ is because he's finally starting to turn a page and make those timely saves at timely moments. And again, you want to leave room for improvement. So he can get that to an A-. Again, he doesn't need to be an A+ goalie. With this defense and how it should play, you just shouldn't need your goaltender to be perfect every night. So if he could get to an A- by the end of the season and go into the playoffs on a good note rather than last year where it was a tough selling going to playoffs, getting exhausted, and then we saw what happened in the playoffs, I think the Islanders will be in good shape. But I think Sorokin is much better than the numbers for sure.
Okay, very good. So Ilya Sorokin, Stefen Rosner's Hero of the Week nominee. I'll give you mine now. That is none other than the captain, Anders Lee. 3-2-5 on the week. Power play goal against Edmonton, tying goal against the Caps, and of course, the game-winning goal. 1 goal, 2 assists against the Carolina Hurricanes. This is a guy who's come into question a lot the first 15 to 20 games of this season. I think both of us have been guilty of that. A slow start. We look back at last season, how he was slowing down towards the end. He didn't have the greatest series against the Carolina Hurricanes, and it's almost like he's been listening to all of us because he's picked up his game. He's got 10 goals now, I believe, on the season. He's been great. He obviously had a huge week this week. And look, we'll see if it's maintained over the rest of this 82-game season. But you gotta like the way this guy's been playing on that top line with Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat, because I think a lot of us were guilty of saying that spot was not made for him.
No, and he's, again, another guy that got another opportunity on the top line, starting there, going down, or on the third line, going up to the top, not working out, going back down. Now he's back up, and again, I don't want to give him all the credit for why Barzal and Horvat have been great, but he's a veteran that knows how to do what he has to do and get out of the way.
Right.
I think, again, you saw with Holmstrom Holmstrom wasn't finishing his chances, but he's a younger player, not knowing where to go with. It's very hard to play with Barzal. I think we've seen that. It's very hard. He could go anywhere, and really hard to gauge. But for Lee, it's win my board battles, get the puck to either Horvat or Barzal, and let them do what they have to do. And they've done it. And again, going back to that goal against the Caps, the deacon and dangling in front of goal.
Yeah.
I mean,
nice little backhand.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw Anders Lee deke out a goalie?
It's been a minute.
Yeah. So I think for him, again, we talked about the mental game, and it was a really slow start. Now he's got goals in 3 straight. Scored his 250th career goal. I mean, he's feeling good about his game and power play. He scored on the power play against Edmonton, right?
Yep.
And it was funny. It's like, why is Anders Lee on the top power play unit? What happened there? Nelson had a skate issue. So Brock had to hop off. So after the game, Lee goes, he gets an assist for that because he gave him the opportunity. But again, making the most of your opportunities. Early in the season, he's too slow in front of goal. He's not finishing his chances.
Right.
That's him being in the right spot at the right time, watching where the puck goes. It was loose behind Skinner. So I think for Lee, it's been great to see the turnaround because there were questions. We spoke about it. I mean, if he keeps up that struggling play, are they going to have to buy him out? Like, all these talks.
Yeah, it all came up. It did.
And Anders Lee has told everybody to zip the lips for a little bit. Again, he's not going to be a 35, 40 goal scorer he was a couple of years ago. It's not going to happen, but the Islanders don't need him to. Again, when guys like Holmstrom are going on pace for 25 goals, and Horvat's going to score more than he has, and Barzal's probably going to set a new career high maybe in goals and things like that. And Nelson might finally score 40, right?
Right.
Lee doesn't have to be the 40 goal scorer. He just has to be good enough on that top line and let the players that are on his line do what they have to do, and he's been perfect right now.
Yeah, as long as he's helping that engine run, that's all that matters.
It's like Engvall.
Exactly. It doesn't necessarily matter what the numbers are, as long as the guys, the whole of the machine are working as they need to.
Say the same thing with Gauthier on the third line, same thing. Fashing on the fourth line. Just do your role to help your line mates, and Lee's done a perfect job of that so far.
There you have it. So Ilya Sorokin, Anders Lee, your heroes of the week. And before we get into questions, Bruin, it's time to go back to the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Radonis. Jake, how we doing over there on the couch, bud?
I'm doing great,
Did you have a nice Christmas?
I had a great Christmas. I hope all our fans had a great Christmas as well.
Was Santa good to you?
Santa was phenomenal to me.
That's what I like to hear. So what do you got for us tonight, Jake?
Yeah, so going back to Eric Hornick of the NYI Skinny, this is actually the first time since the 1986-87 season that the Islanders have 4 players with 30-plus points through their first 33 games.
86-87.
You were alive, right?
I was barely alive, but yes, I was alive. But it is wild to think that it goes back that far.
That's a long time.
That's a lot of years, Stefen. That's many years. So like when you were kind of joking around about like, when was the last time that? It's been a while since the 1980s, since the legends of the team were on that team. You know what I mean? So it's wild to think, and everybody jokes about that Dougie Waite year when Tavares and Barzal were putting up points, but no, it didn't even happen in that year. It's been that long, which is just crazy because it's true. You said it earlier. Like, this team has just been starved for a balanced top 6, for scoring coming out of that, those positions there, and for them to do it and not be a complete irresponsible shite show on the back end like the Dougie Waite team was. This is a team who's putting up those points and they're also winning games.
Sounds like you're getting a little choked up.
No. just a little phlegm. Just a little phlegm.
No, but, it's crazy. It's crazy, but obviously this is something where Lou had a vision when he re-signed Engvall, when he saw what Horvat and Barzal could do. Not giving Dobson the long-term deal a couple of summers ago when he said we need to see more from him. I mean, again, you got to go back to what Lou's done, and he's kind of played what his role to a T. You know, let's say you give Dobson the long-term contract immediately. Is that going to stop Dobson from pushing himself? No, but hey, Dobson, you have to go prove yourself in all not just again.
It let him know that he had more to do, more to prove. Right?
We talk about the offense, and you look at all of those guys on that list, and Barzal's been better defensively. Bo Horvat's been defensively great. Noah Dobson, the growth on his defensive game, I don't think anyone saw this coming. I think everyone would have said, you know what? If he's offensively at pace with the Norris guys, fantastic. And if his defense is a little below average, like it is what it is.
Right.
You'll take it.
Right.
His defense has been above that. He's becoming a legitimate number one defenseman. And again, this is something that Lou saw that he could do and said pretty much, this is on you now. Go prove to me that you deserve an 8 by whatever. It's going to start with an 8 at this point. And again, the Romanov deal and what those two could do as a pairing. I mean, again, not saying every move Lou's made has been great.
Right.
I'm just saying that right now with this team going well, you got to look at the decisions Lou made, not just this past summer, but summers ago when he pretty much put the onus on certain players, and now it's paying dividends.
It's okay to give credit where it's due when it's actually due, and right now it looks like it is. So, Jake, thanks for hanging out with us in the Snake's Den. Great stuff there. Nice little stat there. Absolutely. And now we can go into Questions Brewing. Ed, Jay, how's the holidays going, boys?
It's going great.
Yeah?
Yeah. I got to thank you for the new gear. New gear tonight. Now let me get the microphone out of the way.
New gear. Yes, indeed. Yes, that looks very nice on you. Yeah. Very nice hoodie there.
Got my size, everything. It's like
bad.
you've bought me shirts before.
You know what? Maybe I have. Maybe
you have.
The more and more we do this, it just sounds like ours. Like, all right, guys, you got to thank me on the show for all the gifts.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into Questions Brewing before I get more uncomfortable.
Sure.
It's time for Questions Brewing. So go ahead.
Ask us a question.
Excuse me.
You all right, buddy?
Excuse you?
Yeah, the way you just said that gave me a little chill.
Oh.
All right, Ed, what do you got for us?
Well, it's a quiet night tonight. It's quiet Tuesday. We don't have many questions, but you know that we're kind of a little pressed for time anyway. We're 10 minutes over already.
Ed, just ask the question.
Yeah, you know, we're going
to... You don't got to think out loud here.
No, I don't. We're gonna start off with Mr. Tom Boyle.
Okay, T. Boyle, what do you got?
He says, when the freeze is lifted this week, do you see the teams trading immediately, especially the teams that desperately need goaltending?
No. I think a lot of teams are still in cap hell. And it is, again, sure, can you see trades like we saw the Horvat deal happen like a month before the deadline or 2 months before the deadline? Sure, but I just think, again, with the freeze coming over, I just think it's going to be about making the moves, like players being placed on waivers. I don't think we'll see any trades. I don't see a point right now. I don't think, like, for example, if Boyle's alluding to Pelech still being on LTIR, will the Islanders make a trade now after I don't think so. I just think, again, teams are still trying to deal with this cap situation, and rather than trade people, they'll probably wait for the waiver moves and things like that.
Yeah, it'll probably get a little closer to the deadline before we see anything, but you never know.
Yeah. And Zab09, he asks, does Zach coming back really help this team? Shouldn't we be getting younger?
Oh, God. The age and the Parise conversation, again, I get it when a player plays to their age. Like Zdeno Chara, playing to his age, clearly was playing like a 50-year-old, right? Anytime Zach was in the lineup, if you had to tell me, hey, without knowing anything about Zach, guess how old this guy is? You're not even saying 30. So I think, again, I get the point. I just think it's just wrong to bring age into it when the player doesn't ever play to his age. Now, do I think Parise's a need? No, but not for that reason. I don't think it's because they need to get younger. I think it's what other guys have done, like we talked about on the show, like what Holmstrom's been able to do and things like that, where Parise's a really bad want. I just don't think he's a need. But I think the whole age thing, if he comes into the lineup and is still skating as fast as he did last year and still finding ways to score goals, the age really, to me, is just a number.
Well, not only that, but it's not like they're going to sign him to a 3-year deal here.
He's got 1 year league minimum.
Right. Like he comes in for the remainder of the season, and you cross your fingers that he's going to play at the level that he did last season. And if he doesn't, the good news is they've shown that they have the depth right now where they say, Zach, thanks, it's not really working out. You're happy to hang out with us and hang out in the press box or whatever it is. But right now we got guys that are playing a little better than you are. And that absolutely could happen. Like, look, he hasn't been playing here for the first 33 games. Yes, he's skating on his own. Yes, he's training and he's trying to get back into game shape. The truth is, and especially the fact of his age, we don't know what kind of Zach Parise we're getting until he shows up. So, yeah, sign the league minimum deal, let him come in, and if he earns himself a spot in the roster, and I don't think he will right away. I don't know if they're going to pluck somebody out right away, assuming they keep playing the way they are now. So he might even have to wait for an injury before that even happens. But, I mean, I think it's harmless if you bring him in league minimum. It's just going to be for the rest of the year. So I don't think the age thing is going to be a problem, especially because they're not going to force him into the lineup if he hasn't earned it, because it's not like they're going to look at themselves and be like, oh man, he's got to play. He's, it's Zach Parise. You know what I mean? Like, he'll understand if he hasn't, kind of worked his way into the lineup because of the way the team's performing. And
I also don't think Parise would come back. He felt like he was skating like a 39-year-old.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I think he's also wise enough to know that, hey, I can come back to this team and I may not step on the ice right away. And I'm sure that I don't even think the conversation would need to be had, but if Zach's the type of guy who's going to be like, look, Lou, I'm only coming back if I'm in the lineup every night. If they have to have that conversation, that's when Lou might say, well, Zach, I mean, I can't give you that promise. And then maybe he doesn't come back at all. But him being the team guy that everybody makes him out to be, I'm sure he's just happy to come back. If he gets in and he's able to contribute to the team, great. I mean, here's a guy who never won a Stanley Cup. He has the relationship with Lou. That's kind of why this whole dynamic is there in the first place. Islanders are nothing. And if he can come back and help this team out, great. If he can't, it is what it is.
Back to Mr. Tom Boyle. Do you see Pellick or Mayfield returning tomorrow night?
If we had to guess, I think it would be Mayfield. I think he just damaged his finger. Obviously, Pellick had a major wrist injury. We don't know if he had surgery or not, but Grant Hutton was back in the minors. We get to him in a second. Back in the minors, so they'd have to call him up again if they wanted to, but did they send him down? Maybe that Mayfield's ready to go. So I think if it is Mayfield, I do think we see Aho come out. I just think with the way that Bortuzzo's played with Bolduc, I just like the way he's helped calm Bolduc down. And I think for Mayfield, he's signed a 7-year deal. He's playing. If he's healthy, he's playing. Right. So I think him and Riley, again, I think Aho became expendable because of, I think Riley's just been a better Aho. So I think having Aho as your 7th defenseman for now is really good for this team. That's the deepest defense group we've probably seen since their back-to-back trips to the semifinals, maybe even deeper. Now, again, when everyone else comes back, now you got to make tough decisions. But I think right now Mayfield comes back in, and it would be him and Riley as a pairing. Or if they wanted to, which I don't think they'd want to, they could put Mayfield with Bolduc, who he's played with this year. I just think Bortuzzo and Bolduc have been a stabilizing force, and I wouldn't touch that at all.
I think without even thinking about it, the first guy who comes out of the 6 is Bolduc. I mean, that's just without question, no matter who comes back.
Really?
Bolduc is the first guy that comes out. Yeah, I think so. That's my personal opinion.
That's fair.
I was kind of tweeting it during the games and stuff like that. Like, I just don't think Bolduc is there yet. And I say that as far as his mental game goes, because he has the tools, he has the talent. We know that. That's why he's gotten as far as he has. But he hasn't figured it out mentally yet. And he just doesn't look. He's just making plays, like just small plays that should be no-brainers, should be like not even thinking about it. You can tell he's thinking about it. He's overthinking, and he's making simple mistakes. And has it cost him big time yet? No, not really, but it could. And I feel like he's a guy who once they start to get healthy and nobody else goes down, Bolduc's got to be the first guy to the lineup. I keep Aho in there for sure.
And to your point, Aho plays both sides. He could just go back into Bolduc's spot and call it a day.
Yeah.
Good point.
Next up from aisle 72, can Lou pull off a trade for Kuzmenko?
Can he? Yeah. Will he? Probably not. I think Vancouver, I know there was some whispers that it was a team in the East. From who I spoke to, it's the Montreal Canadiens were the ones talking. I don't think the Islanders have reached out. I mean, they probably reached out, but I mean, it's still a young talent. Maybe he's not as young anymore, 26, which is not young in this league. I don't know why the Canucks are giving up on him anyway. I just don't think, again, if the Islanders have to compete with prospects, they're just not going to win. It depends what Vancouver wants, but right now Vancouver's been playing so well that I could see them saying, all right, we'll give you Kuzmenko, give us Pajot and a top pick because we need center depth going into the playoffs, and we'd like that player. So again, it really ultimately depends on what Vancouver wants. If they want veteran NHL-ready guys to help in the playoffs, then the Islanders become a fit. But if they want the prospects to keep this pool alive here and keep Canucks maybe more not a 1 or 2 year team to like a 4 or 5 year team, they're going to want prospects. And the Islanders, again, just cannot compete with other teams.
Agree.
Another question from Enzeb. I know we were talking about how good Riley and Bortuzzo were earlier, but have they solidified their spots when everyone is healthy?
I think Riley's made an extremely strong case. I think Bortuzzo is probably the guy who could end up on the outside. I mean, look, you got Dobson and Romanov. You got Pelech when he's healthy, right? Then you look at the bottom pair. That's the big question. Mayfield's going to be back on the right side. That's Bortuzzo's side, right? So I think they probably carry 8 defensemen if they can. I mean, look, because you have to look at the forwards too. But I think in a perfect world, they would carry 8. Aho would be, the 7th guy, and because Riley you would have with Mayfield, and then Aho would be the 7th, and Bortuzzo would be the 8th. So you have a guy who can fill in both sides.
So Bolduc's going on waivers,
or in a deal.
Well, that's the thing. Are they showcasing Bolduc right now? I think that's a fair thing to throw out there.
But look, we'll keep talking in this hypothetical as if all 30 defensemen are
they're
healthy.
Not going to be. Yeah.
They're probably not. So, and as we've seen, not just Lou, but NHL general managers know how to play the RR game and know how to, weave guys in and out of a lineup so that they don't have to push a guy through waivers, and that's probably something we'll see as well. But if you push come to shove, all guys are healthy, then I think Aho and Bortuzzo are your extras, and I think Riley's are in that spot on the left side with Mayfield. Bortuzzo probably comes out, though.
Before we get to the last point, again, going back to Hutton real quick, just wanted to mention that is he was sent down before you could send players down during the freeze and call them back up. That's okay. So, but the question is Hutton, does he go down because someone's ready, or does he go down to accrue cap space? Well, we all know with Pelech being on LTIR, Islanders are accruing cap space. So I did some digging on Cap Friendly, also asked some people, and the reason Hutton's down is because if he gets to 30 days on the NHL roster or 10 games, he is no longer waiver exempt. I think he's around 25 games right now. 25 days, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So the reason that he was sent down during this little break here is because they're not playing. Why would you keep him up on the roster if it's going to count towards days? So I think the Islanders are actually nervous that if they have to waive Hutton, he'll get claimed. I think they see a lot of value. Even though he's not playing, They don't want to lose him. So I think, again, Hutton maybe means Mayfield's back with Hutton being down, but at the end of the day, they're saving Hutton's days.
And when you make that point, that's the one thing I could see why Bortuzzo could end up being a guy being waived because of his age. And if they do still see something in Hutton, obviously he's a little younger. Maybe he's a guy they would prefer to hold on to just for the longevity end of it, as opposed to Bortuzzo being an older guy that is probably just here as a fill-in for this season. I don't think they envision Bortuzzo being a long-term Islander here.
And Hutton's a right-sided defenseman, which every team could need. He's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". He has some experience, so I think he would get claimed.
There you go.
NZ09 wants to know, he says, is Stefen planning on getting Sean a present now that the two of them are on that level? And what would it be?
Oh, no.
Also, CGS wants to know, where's your Santa hat tonight, Stefen? So it's all
these are important questions, Stefen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the most cliche responses. Yeah, I'm going to have to get Sean a gift now. Thanks for putting him on the spot.
Please don't.
I'll get him something small. Maybe next year. And in terms of the Santa hat, Sean didn't bring it for me, so I'm going to throw him under the bus here.
You've been doing a lot of that tonight.
Throwing under the bus?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a little moody. I don't know.
I mean, I'm in such a giving mood, and then this is how you repay me. It's unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I have no comment for why I've been a D-bag tonight. I'm sorry.
I didn't say that. You did. Your words, not mine. Well, on that wonderful note, I think we can wrap the show. All right, folks, want to send a big thanks to Ethan Sears of the New York Post for joining us, giving us a great spot as always. And, of course, a big thanks to our wonderful sponsors, starting with Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington and 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip. Check out the menu or order ahead at BlueLineDeli.com. Also, big thanks to Main Street Board Game Cafe, located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Find out how to unplug your game at MainSTBoardGameCafe.com. And also a big thanks to Razor and Kniff, attorneys at law. Not everybody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 516-742-7600 for a free consultation. And a big thanks to Floored Media here in Rockville Center with the always merry, always joyous Jason Belsky. Let me tell you, the holiday spirit was in him today, and we're just so glad that he was here with us tonight. So, Jay, thanks for hosting us here at the wonderful Floored Media. So with that, folks, remember to rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, spread the word, tell everybody that you like listening and or watching Hockey Night New York on a weekly basis to learn or find out more about your beloved New York Islanders. Stefen Rosner, where can everybody find you? Are you okay?
Don't follow me, just follow Sean.
where can you find Stefen Rosner on the internet?
Yeah, at Stefen _Rosner, STEFEN _ROSNER, the Hockey News Islanders side, and NHL.com.
You can follow me at Shawnee Hockey on Twitter. You can follow the show at Hockey Night NY on all your favorite social media platforms. You can also check us out at HockeyNightNY.com. So, keeping the holiday spirit here alive, for Jake the Snake Radonis over in the Snake Den, for Jason Belsky, for Edzo Burns, and for Mr. Stefen Rosner, I'm Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night New York. We're taking next week off for the New Year, so sorry we won't be with you. So we hope you enjoy your New Year's celebration, but we will be back after that. So folks, happy holidays, happy New Year. We will see you next time.